Perfect. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Mic Check Show. Today we're sitting down with one of the most accurate and consistent kickers in NFL history. Am I right?
Well, I'll let the numbers speak for themselves.
A three-time Pro Bowler, a Chiefs legend, and a man whose dedication to craft, community, and leadership has made an impact far beyond the field. Please welcome y'all, Nick Lowery. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Mike. Thank you.
The way I like to start off my podcast is by asking rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
I will do the best I can.
Favorite stadium you ever kicked in?
New Orleans,
Ooh,
no wind, beautifully flat. I only played in it twice. The last time I played it was the first game of the '85 season. Ridiculous that 12 seasons later I didn't play in that. Morton Anderson had 20 seasons indoors, and let's just say that I'm pretty proud of the fact that I had 26 seasons, counting high school and college, and 18 in the NFL. They were all cold stadiums. Whether it was New England my first year, whether it was
right.
14 years in Kansas City, whether it was 3 years in Jets Stadium. So very proud of that. So I'd say the dome there because I hit a 48 yarder that went over the net. Then I hit a 52 yarder that went over the net, a
Wow.
52 yarder that went over the net, and a 36 yarder, all in like the first 60 minutes of the game. And I didn't
Nice.
get another attempt, but I had four field goals, and three of them were essentially 50 yards. And you try not to think that way too much because you've got to be ready no matter how terrible the worst stadium was the old Cleveland Stadium late in the season. That was solid mud. It was terrible.
Really? Okay. Pre-kick ritual. What was it? If you had any.
Well, I'd like to joke. I was asked this by USA Today. I said, "Well, no rituals except cutting off the head of a chicken and pouring the blood over my head. But other than that, but I'd get to the stadium 3 hours early. I'd run around, jog around the field, and then I'd walk up and down and just visualize 50-yard field goal, 60-yard field goal, 43-yard field goal, and then I'd hug the goalpost because I'd want that sense of tactile connection when I'm lining up, knowing it's right there. Because some stadiums, like the old, the one that USC plays in,
Yeah.
um, the Coliseum, the stadium stands are so far behind that a 50 yarder looks like a 60 yarder. But in most other stadiums, to
Gotcha.
me, from my mental preparation, a 50 yarder looked more like almost a 40 yarder. And those things help. You just subconsciously prepare yourself and don't try too hard. Just go with, if you will, God's natural instincts that you've done through lots and lots of preparation, both physically and emotionally.
One kick you'll never forget.
Man, I am so lucky because there have been so many. Um, if you look up five field goals, Oakland Raiders, Nick Lowery, there's a 1 minute piece video that comes right up at the top. And it's, the usual guys, Dandy Don Meredith and, whoever, Frank Gifford. And OJ Simpson is doing the sideline. And I'm lining up a close to 59-yard field goal. It was officially 58 yards, and just crushed it halfway up the net. A very windy stadium. Thursday night game, 1985, second game of the season, and
That's crazy. The year it was born.
and hit really high up there, and you can hear Frank Gifford going, "Whoa!" And O.J. Simpson immediately says from the sidelines, "That looks like it could have gone 70 yards." And I wish I'd got to play there or Denver, obviously, because the ball travels another like 8 yards, 7 yards.
Really? Okay. And that's because of what?
Altitude. You got a
The
one
altitude? Okay.
altitude, which means you've got 10% less resistance in the air to get scientific. And so, but it was pretty long grass there. I'd say the worst was early on playing in the Oakland Stadium back in '78 for the Patriots. That grass was wet and long. And the San Diego Stadium, even though it's nice weather, it was not a very good, well-tended field, so it was kind of lumpy.
Okay.
Um, but obviously, the domes are easier because you don't have to worry about anything but just a good plant and attack the ball. You're not going to fall down. The wind is nothing to worry about. And but I was happy with most of them.
Chief teammate who always made you laugh.
Oh gosh, Mike Bell. Mike Bell, number 99, number one pick for us. I think the number two pick in the whole draft from Colorado State in 1979. He was in his second year, and I came in the next year. And he's just so funny. I'll never forget. He joined me along with Krishna Okoye and some other great guys to start something that became known as Native Vision, which is now in its 30th year, and it's a sports mentoring program for Native youth. And that first couple of years were just football.
That's great.
And the people from Johns Hopkins smuggled in some beer into our motel room afterwards when we were done after 3 days, and up in Chinle, right near the Four Corners that connects Utah, Arizona, Colorado, and New Mexico.
Gotcha.
And we were telling jokes in there. I'll just never forget. I was just laughing so hard I was crying. Mike has that gift. Danny Salamore is pretty darn funny too, our nose tackle. Just naturally, he could have been a professional comedian at any moment. He was
Oh, that
great.
says a lot. That says a lot, Nick. Louder pressure, right? Playoffs or a game winner in the regular season?
I think it's all your attitude. So, I mean, I think playoffs, if you're not
Good
careful,
answer.
you have to, decrescendo expectations. I'll never forget really great conversation with Tony Robbins, who I become friends with. I was on his infomercial from 1991 till like 2004. And he took me as his guest to the Stanley Cup playoffs and to the NBA All-Star game and to Fiji, Namale, where he has that place. And so we become friends. We shared some, intimate things about our lives. And so he knew what was going on the first year of free agency. But the year before that, it's the day before the game. It's in Buffalo. It's the AFC Championship game, and it's freezing cold. And they have you come there an extra day early just in case there are any travel issues with
Mm-hmm.
the lake effect snow, etc. And so you had a bit more time in your room. And he calls up out of the blue and he goes, "How you doing?" I said, "I'm fine. I'm a little nervous." He said, "Why are you nervous?" And I said, "I don't want to let down my teammates. I want to, do my job." And he said, "Well, who are you playing for? Who are you playing for?" And I just thought, he said, "All those kids with cerebral palsy." I get emotional talking about it. And all those inner city kids with the adult role models for youth program you've been doing for 5 years, with inner city kids, 80% African American, probably 70% from fatherless homes. And it just really reset me perfectly. And I only had a chance to hit two field goals. I hit one late in the third quarter that brought us to 20-13. And then we stopped them on the next possession. And Joe Montana, it's our quarterback, Joe Montana. And he's already shown incredible presence in the previous two games, beating the Pittsburgh Steelers in overtime and with a crucial fourth down pass that tied the game. That's another great story. So ask me about that pass, and then also against Houston, beating Warren Moon and Houston in Houston with an 11-game winning streak. And um, so we have Joe Montana, and he's driving, and then a guy named Bruce Smith, who's become a friend, who's
Oh yeah.
one of the only guys, maybe the only guy, 200 sacks lifetime, and a great guy. And Bruce hit him in a way that probably would get a flag today because, he rolled down on top of him.
Oh
And it's
wow.
just the way you played the game back then. And it gave Joe probably the worst concussion of his whole life. And
Well, Bruce
I
was a
remember,
big guy.
and I remember sitting next to Joe. He was about 8 feet to my right, and the Chiefs had placed security guys in front of him, behind him, so the cameras wouldn't be able to see that his eyes were just, not there.
Wow.
And that was tough because if we'd had Joe for that fourth quarter, I just know we would have beaten them, and then it would have been us against Dallas. And unlike, with all due respect to the four straight Super Bowls that Buffalo played in, they never got to that same level in the Super Bowl. And I think we might have had a shot against Dallas back in the 94, 93 season Super Bowl. So anyway,
Nice.
good memories though. And so
That's
that's, to
great.
me, that's so important. How do you handle pressure in the playoffs? Just like any time, who am I playing for? And to be frank, yeah, I feel like now it's so clear that I'm channeling God's unique gifts in me so that I can channel and help other people find their unique gifts, because those unique gifts are the key to your purpose and your sense of value to yourselves and to others, your sense of focus and discipline, because you're serving something bigger than you.
That's right. And I see that cross behind you.
Oh
Says a
yeah.
lot. Says a lot.
Well, our actions say a lot more than our words. So we're all sinners, but I use the word sinner. If I do, it's the idea that really, if you look at the original Greek, it's to fall short of the mark. Too
Correct.
much of this guilt stuff that you're going to go to hell. Well, focus on hitting the mark, like the kicker. In terms of your life goals. As I finish my book, which is called Naked and Alone with 80,000 People, finding a way to manage pressure, to give yourself goals that inspire you, that matter, because you matter and the people in your life matter. And if they don't, find people that you want to help, that you matter for, that you do things for, like our Champions for the Homeless, which we did for the 74th time and 19th consecutive Thanksgiving. That's the juice of life. So
That's amazing. Can you talk more about that? Because that's where
absolutely.
I want to get into actually, because I have a
Thank you.
foundation myself.
Tell me about your foundation for 2 seconds.
Well, my foundation, the name of of my foundation is called Hands of Faith, right?
Okay.
Became gave my life to the Lord 3 years ago. Long story short, I was not your typical nice guy, right? I was a very uh I was I was a gangbanger, right?
Yeah.
I was a gang member. I did a lot of errors in my life, right? I committed a lot of errors in my life. But that's nor here nor there. I mean, and one day, this was maybe probably 2 weeks after I gave my life to the Lord. I said, same thing you just mentioned, right? What is my purpose? What am I here to do? What am I here to fulfill? Right. And one day, me and my wife looking for a church, we found one. Thank God we found one in Paterson, New Jersey. I'm from New York, but I live in Jersey now. And this lady, man, just came out of nowhere and said, "Hey, Mike, you and your wife are going to help women and children." And that really stood with me because, um, well, for one, it was actually the first time I've ever heard something like that. And secondly, I was only there for about a year, and then I found a different church in Parsippany, which I'm still there now until this day. And
Right.
someone said the same exact thing. And that's when I said, okay, here you go. I
There
was
you go.
asking for it, right? Because at times
You got to
we
ask.
we get lost, right? Whether you're a new follower, a new believer, you get lost, right? You get lost. Especially if you don't have a mentor or if you don't have a spiritual father slash mother, right? You get lost, and that was me. And I just kept on asking questions, and hey, he answered. They showed up, and what I do is I go to countries around the world, and I provide food, clothes, shelter, and all of the above out of my own money. By the grace of God, I retired 7 years ago. So,
Wow.
and I was able to retire my wife 7 years ago as well.
Wow.
So when you ask me, hey Mike, give me let me know what time, what date. Well, this is all I do, Nick. So and I thank God
Well,
for it.
I find it interesting that you were just noting that I have a cross behind me, and look at where your cross is exactly the same spot,
Amen.
right? Just next to our left ear, might be our right ear. I don't know. I think anyway.
Well, this
It,
was this was divine, Nick. It was meant to happen.
yeah, awesome. Well, thank you, man. Well, my foundation, I'll tell you, I was asked to speak by a guy named Jimmy Walker, who organized Muhammad Ali's fight night, celebrity fight night, for many years, and he did a thing down at St. Vincent de Paul on Mondays called Never Give Up. Well, I've signed my autograph for 44 years, Never Give Up. And that's because I was rejected by 8 teams 11 times. Just like everybody trying to do something meaningful in life has to stand for themselves against rejection, often from people that cannot see what's inside us. In fact, may not see what's inside us.
Right.
And so when I was there, speaking to probably a couple hundred homeless folks, I just noticed this could be the perfect place. And that was 19 years ago. And I started to do it every Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Easter. And then I added about 10 years ago every summer, a couple times, because summer here is what we call Africa hot, right?
Oh yeah.
And so on the concrete downtown, it's another 10 degrees more than that. So um, we provide every year I've added a little bit. And so for me, the big word in my life now is consistency. And so that I'm so proud, and I'm going to share something with you. I hope somebody listening will appreciate. Um, we added flowers, so I walk out to the park outside the gates where we're just beginning to let them in at 11 a.m. We've had an hour and a half of preparation with all the clothing, the underwear, and the socks, and the shoes, and bags to carry things in, etc. And we had the flowers, and I have some of my NFL friends, and a guy named Mark Kerr was there, who's the star of with a guy named The Rock, who plays him in the movie The Smashing Machine, who is the first megastar of MMA, mixed martial arts.
That's right.
And Rock does a great job of making himself look like Mark. And what's great is the toughest guys I've ever met, and there are a lot of tough guys in the NFL, they almost always are incredibly cool dudes. And Mark and I, we do interviews. If you want to look up Champions for the Homeless, Thanksgiving, Nick Lowery, NBC or Fox 10 or Fox, they're two wonderful stories about what we did. And I bring Mark over next to me and they interview him too. And we both say, the awards, those huge belts you win when you're a championship
Mm-hmm.
wrestler,
Mm-hmm.
they're great. We love them. I wear the Chiefs gave me a Super Bowl ring when we won for the first time in 50 years in Miami against the San Francisco 49ers a few years ago. And they're great, but they're nothing compared to that sense of connection. And I think why a lot of very famous, very successful people at the height of their success kill themselves because the goals they set did not include who am I going to share my success with? How am I going to feel on the top of that mountain? Am I going to feel alone? Or am I going to feel connected? And so Mark and I are right there, and I love him. What a great guy, he and his wife Frankie, um, because you can feel and see that in him, and we feel that connection. So a lot of that then is feeding the vibration, the frequency, and if it's a godly frequency, it's unbelievable. And I get emotional talking about this stuff too. But you know, when they measure your aura, your electrical, whatever you call it, aura around you, love is very high. It's right near the top. But
It's it's okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go
way
ahead.
above that is authenticity. Because authenticity, if the authentic person in you means you're being congruent, you're being consistent, you're
That's
probably
right.
being courageous too. But it's just having faith. God made you uniquely. You're not a brick in a wall. You are a unique human being. And that's what makes you feel fully alive because you're being you. And then you can share your best gifts And always, of course, remembering who gets the credit. It's Jesus, it's God in me, just like he's in all of you. Let him come out, let him help steer your choices. And then, of course, the gifts of intuition improve powerfully. And you start to think and notice things you may not have noticed before.
You know why? Uh, Going back to what you said earlier, as far as these, these celebrities with at their peak, the reason why, it's in the book, right? When you reject something, it doesn't have to be Jesus, and you know that deep down it wasn't a good rejection or a great rejection, then either two things happen. It'll haunt you, right, for making a wrong choice, or it was just the plain old truth, right? And you missed out. And I think that this is why no, I don't think, I know this is the reason why that these celebrities unalive themselves, because they reject they reject this being Jesus, right? And we're not how can I put it? We're not supposed to be apart from him. Well, it's not. I mean, fish need water to be alive, correct?
Humans do too,
I'm sorry.
and humans do too
Yeah, but we can't. I mean,
when they
we,
swim.
so we're not supposed to be apart from Jesus, and that's just the truth. We're not supposed to. So, the book says, right, if you reject them, don't expect for him to accept you, right? He says, depart from me, I never knew you. Now you can't get upset at that, right? Because you chose that. You chose to be away from him, apart from him. You chose to reject them. So you can't get upset. You can't say, hey, let me in now. I'm here. No, it's too late. So this is why, right? I believe wholeheartedly, these, top-notch celebrities unalive themselves,
Yeah.
right?
I
Because they
want, I,
reject the truth, right? Well, what does John 14:6 say, Nick?
you tell me, brother.
I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one
And no
comes
one
to the Father except through
stepped through
me.
me. Yeah.
Not, and I'm sorry to say it, I have a lot of Muslim friends. It doesn't say Muhammad. It doesn't say Gandhi, right? It doesn't say Krishna. Through me, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Well, and we as Christians don't kill people that walk away from us because we know that God's in charge. And so we don't worry about it. Whereas, if you walk away from the Muslim religion, you are supposedly open, fair game. But a more positive thing I wanted to share with you as a former gangbanger, have you heard of this book, Tattoos on the Heart?
I can't see it. It's a little blurry. Who? No, I can't see it. But who is that? I can't see the image. I'm sorry.
Sorry. It's called Tattoos on the Heart, The Power of Boundless Compassion by Gregory Boyle, founder of the Homeboy Industries and the Dolores Mission in the number one gang banger neighborhoods in LA. And he talks about how he, just the level of godliness and love that he tried to bring to these guys and had some wonderful, really powerful successes, but also he had to bury in his 20 years there 170
Jeez.
burials. And one of the things he says in it, which I love, but I really encourage all of you to look up Tattoos on the Heart. It defines what real love is. And one thing he says I love is God is really the God of what we think is God. What we think is God, we think is the best and is amazing. But now take it to that other level because the God that we conceive, his God, is even bigger than that. That's how big our God is. And all you have to do is think of the numbers, a trillion planets in our galaxy, trillions of galaxies. I mean, how tiny, tiny we are. And yet, what would it take to have a God so powerful and so loving that he's in every one of us that are smaller than a speck of sand, smaller than an atom, and yet
That's
to
right.
feel that sense of love even when we screw up, to
That's
say
right.
he's always there, is the prodigal son as one great example of that story, coming back to what really matters. And I highly recommend all of you that if you can, get this book on Amazon, Tatters on the Heart, because it effortlessly and beautifully, without this sort of sanctimonious, judgmental, I know better than you, I'm a real Christian sort of
Right.
ideology. It's so loving and so forgiving. And so the gangbangers who've done awful things and often come from really tough family situations as well. And his compassion for them, they can feel that. What are they feeling? They're feeling that vibration, feeling that authentic, beautiful vibration of love that won't go away no matter what. And so some of them, they reject him and they reject Jesus too. They reject, his name is Gregory Boyle, who's a Catholic priest there in the Dolores Mission. And then they come back. You plant the seed, you plant the seed. That's the way I look at it. Is the work we do at Champions for the Homeless, we're planting 1 million seeds,
Yep.
not only in our homeless brothers and sisters, but in the 200 volunteers serving 1,000 homeless brothers and sisters there in downtown Phoenix at 10th Avenue in Jackson.
That's
Because
amazing.
a lot of them say, I retired thinking it was going to be the best part of my life, and I knew I was missing something. Just like Mark Kerr, I was missing something. It's that connection. So you look at today's people you admire, they have channeled their success to help others feel of value, and not just feel of value, but then find something to do that becomes this universal circle of service, um, and inspiration.
Right. 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 Now, when is your next
Our
when is the
next
next
one is
time you got? Yeah.
our next champions will be our 75th. I'm really proud of that. Um, 75th in 19 years. We're beginning our 20th season of doing this, um, on Christmas Day. And people go, why Christmas Day? We got our family. I'm like, precisely. You got your family. But when you're homeless, you're separated from the people that you care about. And even if there's some dysfunction there, there is that sense of isolation. So that's exactly why we do it. They show up at 9:30. We prepare for an hour and a half, and it's a lot of work. We have chiropractors. We had 6 haircutters on Thursday and Thanksgiving. We'll have 8 on Christmas. And the last thing I say, we have an incredible band, the New Destiny band, CC, and we have just everybody's there for the same reason. So we're aligned, and the line in the Bible is when two or more of us are together, I'll be there. Well, guess what? What if they're 150 or 200, and we're all on the same page? So I say to them, the gifts that are material, they need socks. A lot of them wear the same socks for 4 months, and suddenly the sock is growing into their foot, and to take off that sock would be unbelievably painful because it would pull off 6, 7, 8 layers of skin.
Yeah.
And so we do socks, we do underwear. They were proud of me. The ladies were proud of me because I was able to order 300 pairs of wireless bras and a nice distribution of
Nice.
sizes and just little things like that. I love the little gifts. Um, so you're juggling a lot of things, but I say to them, as good as all those things are, when you give them that gift of dignity, respect, love, you see them, they know you see them,
Yeah.
and you let them know that they're the most important person in the room. God, it's just so beautiful, that connection. But when it happens not only to the first person they meet, but the second and the third and the 10th and the 20th, there's something just magical that happens, and they go, man, that's what life is. And there's a sense of hope, which is priceless. A sense I'm not forgotten. I'm still seen, because on the street they often are ignored, as you
A
know.
sense of joy
And
too. Yeah.
sense of joy and smiles. I've got pictures, man. If you go to my website, if you go to championsforthehomeless.org, if you go to nicklowrybook.com, that goes into a lot of this. And if you go to nicklowry.com, just all these photos of people. And Facebook, I've got a photo of me with two guys, and they've had everything taken from them, but their joy. They know nothing can be of their value can be taken from them. And they've got this deep, spontaneous smiles. And I'm like, God, that's power.
Yeah.
That is power. And that's supernatural power.
That's
And
Jesus, Nick.
that's Jesus. So anyway, so that's what I love, is seeing these transformations, not only in 1,000, we had probably 1,100 this time, but
Wow.
also the volunteers. Think about that. You've got, with all the staff and everything, 1,400 people in this room. And there's another room where they go where the clothes are. And then there's a beautiful chapel with Michelangelo's sculpture there. It's a copy of it, but it's just beautiful. And then another room where they have the haircutters, etc. And but there's a lot of people crammed into a small area, and you think, uh-oh, oh, these homeless, they have mental illness issues, they have addiction issues, etc. We almost never have issues, because when you know you're safe, when you know you're respected, we act out of fatigue, we act out of anger, we act out of not being seen and heard and felt. So when they
Right.
know they're safe and it's consistent, it's not just 5 days a year that we do it, but St. Vincent de Paul has taught me something just beautiful. There's no difference between the giver and the receiver. It's the same vibration. And that is so powerful. That means you can connect with this person. Like when, you drive up to a stoplight and somebody's got a fan going, or, they're holding up a sign that says, veteran, I need your help, or blessed, or, my family, I'm lost a job. And I just give them, $5. Sometimes I'll give more, but to me, what I give them is I look them in the eye and say, how you doing? What's going on? There's no judgment there. And that's the hardest thing. And that's what Jesus had to deal with, in the temple,
Yep.
the judgment of the Pharisees, because they thought they'd got 100 on their test. But the real test was this and this. They'd lost that completely. And Jesus is angry, but he doesn't hurt anybody. He throws some tables down, etc. And he tells them exactly. If you've seen,
Not
have
once,
you
Nick,
seen
he sinned.
have you seen Mike the Chosen?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so
Two or three
beautiful, and
times.
it's so makes a real effort to be accurate.
That's what I was going to say. The closest thing to being accurate,
Yeah,
honestly.
and you know what it also says? Those disciples, they are regular people. They're not superstars. They become superstars with being with him and feeling his supernatural power and knowing he was real and seeing him after he was dead, instead risen. So, well, I've got to run for now, but if you want to do this again, I'd be honored to. And he is risen. There you go.
Nick, this was
God
divine.
bless
Yeah,
you.
absolutely. Absolutely. No problem. You're more than welcome to join the show whenever you can, Nick. I know you're a busy guy, but
We
I
all are
also want to
busy.
contribute and I want to help.
Well, thank you. If you
So,
want, go to championsforthehomeless.org. Do whatever you can.
no,
Thank
meaning
you.
physically.
Oh, then come on down on Christmas, man.
And not only physically, but financially as well. I want to hand it to you myself, Nick.
Well, that would be fantastic, brother. So we do. Our next one is Christmas. Next one after that is Easter. So whenever you can, and we'd be very honored to have you join us.
Sounds good, Nick. Thank you so much. God bless you and your family. And we'll talk soon. I'll shoot you my number, Nick.
Okay, brother. Thank you.
Have a good one. Bye bye.
Bless everyone watching. wherever you are in
Amen.
your life.
Amen.
Amen.